Hey guys, it's Olivie Blake, and this is me not writing. So I'm doing this totally on the fly. I just realized that I had like maybe 20, 25 extra minutes of time and thought I would give them to you. I'm sort of between projects at the moment. Well, that's not true. I have piled several projects onto my plate. And so while I'm waiting for edits, like editorial notes on Gifted and Talented, which is my next standalone, I am starting the next book that comes after that. So at some point this fall, I will be working on 3 books simultaneously. 4. We don't need to talk about that. Let's see. What am I reading? I just finished Natural Beauty by Ling Huang, and it was amazing. I don't think that the cover properly prepares you for the fact that it's like body horror. It definitely gets kind of gory and unsettling, and there are moments of, I would say that if sexual assault is a trigger, it doesn't happen, but it does happen. I don't know how to explain that. Basically, check the triggers because it is horror. But it was really good, really propulsive. I finished that in like a day. I recently read I Never Promised You a Rose Garden by Joanne Greenberg, which so it's about a woman being treated for, a young woman, 16, a girl being treated for schizophrenia, who's hospitalized, and it was published a year after The Bell Jar, but has like a very different vibe and outcome. I actually cried like 4 or 5 times, like not out of intensity, but just like the message of self-compassion was so incredibly overwhelmingly well stated and necessary. Like if you're someone who struggles with mental health, actually, if you're someone who struggles with mental illness, this is a really meaningful one. I think there's a lot of quotes in there that are gonna like, there's the concept of the little maybe, which is just the idea that like maybe tomorrow it will be better. And it's just really amazing. And this author is really just like, the book itself is really, really interesting and sort of cross genre, a really good read. Strongly recommend. I'm currently reading like a million things at once because I'm having trouble focusing. I've got a lot of thought exercises going on in my head. I have a lot of like my own thoughts crowding around in addition to like, books. When a good book makes you think, it's great. I'm reading The Soul of an Octopus by Montgomery, which I was sort of reading a while ago, but not really. And now I'm like actually really reading it. I'm reading Either Or by Kierkegaard because I had never really understood what it was about, and is not something I would have come across. So I'm reading it now because Alex E. Harrow pointed out to me, casual flex, Alex E. Harrow pointed out to me that usually in my books there is a character who is only performing the aesthetics of goodness. And I liked this idea, the idea that a lot of my books are about ethics and about the ethics of existing in the world, the idea of the aesthetic life versus the ethical life. And I wanted to see what Kierkegaard said about that. Bibliolepsy by Gina Apostal is another one that I'm currently reading, but not quite in the right headspace for. It's very literary. The use of language is definitely very like, you just have to go along with the language more so than the plot, which obviously I'm usually fine with. And let's see, what else? So I'm listening to, I was sort of I have been known to worry a little bit about the Puritans, but then I remembered, because of this album, The Beautiful Letdown by Switchfoot, I'll just put that up front. I don't mean to bury the lead there. That album was a big deal to me when I was younger. And so I was really into Relient K and like the golden age of Christian pop punk, which like is probably pretty antithetical to the vibe now. But it's funny how much of that I didn't like interpret as religious. It was just sort of like a relief to me and my depression that I didn't understand was depression. The Beautiful Letdown is filled with depression anthems. We just didn't call them that, we being me and my many identities at the time. But anyway, so Switchfoot just re-released that album, but as a collaboration with other artists that I was really excited about. Like they did one with John Bellion, they did with the Jonas Brothers, which is random, and Relient K, beloved Relient K. Sadie Hawkins dance in my khaki pants. And I remember that I went through a weird period when I was a teenager of purity vows and whatnot. It was like briefly very, like the popular girls at my school were like, they were this particular brand of non-denominational Christian that I think is most comparable to like Justin Bieber and Selena Gomez's church, you know, that one. But obviously I grew out of it, so maybe I shouldn't worry about the Puritans too much. Like maybe they'll grow out of it. I'm still really thinking about this article about tradwife content by Catherine Jesser Morton, which is published on The Cut. I receive her parenting newsletter, and I like a lot of her book recommendations. I like a lot of what she does that's in the realm of sociology. Like I think that her research into momfluencers and like what that says anthropologically is very, very interesting. And I thought, so like, even though I'm not totally in alignment with all of her thoughts and beliefs, sometimes I kind of don't read her like advice newsletters. Those don't appeal to me as much, but I really liked the exploration of how the like tradwife aesthetic is sort of this pipeline to extreme right-wing beliefs. Anyway, that's what I'm thinking about currently. That's what's living in my brain. Okay, let's see what you guys are thinking about. I don't think I have anything to like announce. Oh yeah, I have this book. I came across this book called Patricia Wants to Cuddle by Samantha Allen, and it is described as a one-of-a-kind queer horror comedy for people who watch The Bachelor and The X-Files back to back. That's all I know about it. So I'm going to read that next. Okay, let's see. Someone asks, do I have any advice for how to tell a potential partner about being bipolar? Well, okay, so the thing you have to know about me and my husband is that I only got diagnosed with bipolar because of him. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't necessarily need to have a name for it. I don't need a name for a lot of things. I don't need words for what's wrong with me. I already know they're there, and I don't like to point at them. So I knew things were wrong with me. I knew that it had been a problem in my previous relationships. I knew that it was just a problem generally. And so because I didn't want to make it his problem, I finally got treatment. I got diagnosed. And so like he was there, like it was happening live. I don't know how you would broach it with, I think you would have to just know that your partner in this case was someone that you could trust. I think you'd have to feel very confident in the fact that like this is someone you feel comfortable giving away this like very intimate part of yourself. I do also see it as something you might want to do relatively early. Like as soon as it has occurred to you that this is someone that you want to trust, that I think would be the time to inform them, just because, you know, it's hard to, you don't want to make excuses for yourself, obviously. But it is hard not to have a shorthand. Like now, if I tell my husband, like, I'm in an up or I'm in a down, he knows what that means and is able to interpret my behaviors, you know, in a way that is helpful and healthy for me. And I think like arriving at that shorthand, it's part of being in a relationship, like getting to that point and creating the shorthand. Like that's what love is the shorthand that you and your partner create in order to make life easier for yourselves and each other. So your question here is this a first date thing where I give them a heads up? I mean, I think I wouldn't say like it's always a first date thing, but like I'm the kind of person who's very upfront about stuff. Like I've told many, many strangers that I have bipolar and it's not a big deal. But that is kind of like, that's up to you. This is your life and it's an intimate thing about you. And you don't have to just give that away to everyone. You might want some people to earn it depending on how you feel about yourself and that diagnosis. For me, it's part of who I am. And also like I've made kind of a living off of it. So I don't have any hangups about sharing it. But I can see why if you did, I wouldn't make it a first date rule. Basically is what I'm saying. Do I wait until they realize themselves? I think that's probably a bad way to go about it. I think that's someone spontaneously realizing you have a mental illness is like, that's pretty far along and you could have made things easier on yourself. And then you add, and then potentially risk a broken heart when they leave for feeling duped. I don't treat bipolar as something that's separate from who I am. Like my bipolar it's not like a thing that I carry around with me. It is me. And so the idea that I could hide it from someone would mean hiding parts of myself. And obviously you do that in the process of getting to know someone. You don't give them everything right away. But like, I don't think you need to think of it as this like sinister secret that you're keeping. I think it's just a part of yourself that you can share when you're ready. I think that it would make it easier on you if the people in your life knew that that was something that you struggle with or cope with. I mean, if anything, because your survival techniques are built on what you have to live with. And I'm sure that there's a lot about you that is helpful to know, that is more helpful to know than the fact that you have bipolar. But you shouldn't feel like, you shouldn't feel like confessing that you have bipolar is pulling a weapon on someone. Like, I certainly think that they're the right person. A person who's worth considering as a person you can trust and who could be the right person is not going to react adversely to the fact that like something weird happens in your brain from time to time. Like, not even weird, something arbitrary happens in your brain from time to time. And what's more important is not that there's something, that some latch is like malfunctioning in your brain. What's more important is how you personally deal with it. Does that mean that you're on medication that affects you at certain times? Or like, does it mean that like the way that you deal with certain problems requires certain reflexes? Like, that's what's important, not the fact that a latch came loose. I'm not using like great mental illness like terminology here, but I always just think of it as like a mechanism, just like I think of my brain as like a pinball machine where like the lever isn't accurately, I'm just going in there constantly trying to fix the levers in my pinball machine. And I can do that, with time and with therapy and with effort and occasionally with medication. But I think it would make sense for you to be able to share that with your partner, because sharing the difficulties of your life and sharing your vulnerabilities is part of being in a relationship with someone. I don't think you should be afraid of it or afraid of what someone will think of it. Bipolar is actually pretty common. And I feel like you're hard pressed at this point to come by someone who doesn't struggle with their mental health. And if they don't struggle with their mental health at all and they think they're totally normal, they're wrong. And if you think about it, that just makes it like less convenient for you, because the fact that they haven't introspected about what might be wrong with them means you're going to come across it later and there isn't like a set method for coping. If anything, what you're doing is a service to mankind. Knowing what's wrong with you and how to treat it, most people have no idea. So. Okay, second question, how to deal with paralyzing imposter syndrome. I will warn you that the rest of this question goes on to describe a feeling that is not imposter syndrome. So all my life, I've wanted to be a writer, and I've reached a point in my life where I can actually start purposely pursuing the career, but I find myself frozen because I don't think I will ever be able to create something that might be someone's best book ever. That is normal anxiety. It might be, perfectionism, like, a fear of failure. It is not imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is like when you feel like every success that you have is not earned, that you're just like faking it. That's not what you're worried about. What you're facing is normal creative anxiety. Everybody is concerned about this. You have to forget about you don't write for the purpose of being someone's best book ever. So it says, I look at how other writers publish highly acclaimed stories, and before I can even start, I shoot myself because my thoughts tell me I won't ever be able to reach that level of acclaim acknowledgement. This is fear of failure, I think. I personally think this is a mix of regular anxiety and fear of failure. I know writers shouldn't write for praise, and a large part of why I want to be a writer is solely for the act itself of dissecting a part of me so I can breathe a little better, but I have such high expectations for myself that it's impossible to create anything. Yeah. Just write. Just right. I think if you're the kind of person who has a lot of anxiety, you should not waste time with like pre-writing outlines and stuff like that. I think what you need to do to get through it is to get into like the high, like the narrative creation where like the story is starting to flow. And in order to reach that point, you should not put obstacles in your way. I have said many times that I think a lot of pre-writing is a form of procrastination. I think it's a form of like it feels like you're productively battling anxiety, but you're not. You're just prolonging the process. Become a person who loves revision. I love revision. The first draft is like, let me just tell the story. Let's just get it out there. And I think it's easy after that point when you're working with something that already exists. You're at that point, it's not like creative. It's it's more of a problem-solving energy as opposed to the creative anxiety that comes with drafting, which is why a lot of authors, I have met a lot of authors who don't really like drafting. It's not their favorite part of it because it's so vulnerable, because it is the part where you're questioning everything and you don't know what you're doing and you have no idea if the story's going to ever come out or if it will come out the way you imagine. Almost never. And then, moving on to that like revision energy of like, I already have the story and I'm going to make it better. It's a lot easier. You have less anxiety to battle that way. Yeah, just write your book. I know that's not helpful. It's not, but like, that's it. That's all there is, right? What separates a writer from a non-writer is that the writer has written something. That's it. Like to me, that's it. Anything else? I've got like just a few more minutes. Someone said they like my clothes. Thank you. A lot of the stuff that I wear is Reformation, which can be expensive. So they're kind of my investment pieces, which is why you see them on my Instagram or I wear them to events and stuff. Outside of that, Madewell, Everlane, like those are my brands. I'm not that complicated. My day-to-day wear, I basically always wear packed, like the cropped camis and like Vori sweatpants, and that's pretty much what I wear every day. This is Reformation. And that shirt that's over there that you can't see is Everlane. What are your thoughts on the if he wanted to, he would mindset? I gave a guy my number on a night out and we were texting that night, but it fizzled out when my phone died. It's now been a couple of days and I'm thinking about him and want to text him, but also feel like if he was into me, he would have reached out by now. What are my thoughts on it? My thoughts are do what you want. If you have to play a game, it's not worth it. Like that sort of energy, it's just not, it just don't take that energy into dating. The idea that there is a right or wrong way to do something is a very bad thing to carry around with you. It's going to make dating awful. Like, okay, because the stakes here are, okay, so if you text him and he doesn't want you to text him, he won't text back. Big deal. I feel like the stakes are pretty low here. If you feel like texting him, then text him. And if he doesn't answer, then that's a pretty good sign that he doesn't feel like talking to you. Apologies. And if he does answer, then he answers and you talk. And either it's a good conversation or it's not. I don't know. I just think that like basically the only thing that you can really control is the energy that you carry around with you. The way that you are vibing to the universe. This is obscure, but I was telling someone that I never read books where I sense that it would be a hate read, that where I'd be looking for things to be wrong with it, because I just don't want that energy. Like I just don't want that to be, reading is something that I love to do. And so I don't want to like add a layer of negativity in where I feel that like anytime I sense that I'm going into something with like lingering bad feelings. I just don't. And so the application here is that, just don't stress about this. If he wants, yeah, sure. If he wanted to talk to you, he would talk to you. That's definitely true, but you don't know what's going on in his life. Who knows? I mean, certainly when a guy is really into you, he will not shut up. Like, and that will feel great when it's the right guy, and it will feel really annoying when it's the wrong guy. But also, maybe he's just not a texter. Maybe this is just not the preferred way of communication. Maybe he's got other things going on in his life. If you want to text him. And then whatever happens, happens. And like, if it feels like a waste of your energy, then don't do it. I don't know if that was helpful, but I'm going to stop now. I don't think I have anything to sell you. I do have events coming up. I am doing an event at Mysterious Galaxy with Alexi Harrow for my best friend, Alexi Harrow, for Starling House, which is a great book. That event is October 7th. It's the Saturday after it comes out. It comes out on October 3rd, as in Mean Girls. It's October 3rd. And then I'm at the Las Vegas Festival of Books on October 21st. I'm at the Last Bookstore with A.Y. Chow on Wednesday, October 18th. Yeah, I think I will probably, I'm gonna do another video relatively soon because like it's almost Galloween, which you know is a big deal for me. I love Galloween. I'm trying to think of an idea. My idea currently, I think we should do, my cousin did this and I didn't like the outcome. She did it with her friends. I wasn't involved. They did a bracket for all the late 90s, 2000s, like YA, like the teen rom-com movies, love interests. I think I've really messed that up. But basically for her, Duke Orsino from She's the Man won. And I think he's great. I don't think he should have won. So I feel like I want to run like a March Madness with the teen rom-com leads, because I feel like, hello, Chris Pine from Princess Diaries 2, the guy from The Prince and Me, which I think as an adult, I've changed my tune on The Prince and Me. I used to be mad that she chose being a doctor over being a princess because I thought like I was thinking of myself and like the impact that I could make. But then of course, like maybe she was on to the right thing with the whole monarchy, whatever. So my cousin excluded Heath Ledger from 10 Things I Hate About You because she thought he would sweep, which is probably accurate. And then I'd also like to do it with the adult leads, like, oh my God, what's his name? Of course, I'm forgetting everything. Like Matthew Good in Leap Year, like, or Patrick Dempsey in Enchanted, or I don't know that he's that great of a love interest. I just really love that movie. Anyway, maybe we can do that for Galloween. I don't know, but we're going to do something. I'm going to cry to Steel Magnolias as I do every year. Okay, I gotta go. This has been me, Olivie Blake, not writing, and I'll see you next time.